Welcome to the Unstuck Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Miner. This weekly no-fluff mindset show arms you with the practical tools you need to get unstuck so you can get exactly what you want out of life. Remember, when you change your mind, your life will follow. Let's get into today's episode. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of Unstuck. Thank you all so much for joining me, whether this is your first episode or you've been with me the whole time. I am so happy to have you here, and I think it's going to be a great episode. It is another listener Q&A episode. One I have been waiting for someone to ask. I am so excited to get into today's topic. It's a big one for me. It's an important one for me. It's something that originally got me started on this whole mindset journey. So it's something that's near and dear to my heart. First of all, I don't even have any announcements for you today, except to tell you that next week, there's going to be a very big announcement that you're definitely going to want to hear. If you're remotely interested in what we talk about here on Unstuck, you're going to want to know about this announcement coming up next week. So basically, I'm just teasing you, which is important to do to keep you on your toes. So just be on the lookout for that next week. You can find out about it here on the Unstuck podcast. You can find out about it over on my Instagram at Sean Miner. And also, if you get my email newsletter, you will see all the details there too. So stick around for that next week. But that's it. So let's dive in to today's question from a listener. I'm just going to read this whole question. It's a long one. It came through via Instagram message. So I'm just going to read it all and we'll go from there, because I think a lot of you might notice some similarities, first of all, to my story, but then also perhaps to your story or someone you know that may have this kind of stuff going on for them. This is from Lily. It says, how do you use mindset to alleviate illness? And in her case, it's Hashimoto's, which is autoimmune disease of the thyroid. If you've tried it all in regard to nutrition and lifestyle, done some of the mindset work over the years, done all the spiritual work I can think of, but say you have mold illness that you don't know about or some other underlying physical root cause that needs attention, but you don't know it. Can you overcome mold illness, which is the case in this example, or some other underlying health issue, using mindset to get into remission? And in her case, it's from Hashimoto's, but if there is an underlying issue that is unknown, it would be kind of also healing that. So can you use mindset to basically heal your body? We'll go that general route for now. And here's the deal. In her case, she's been on this health journey for 10 years. She eats what she feels is healthy, not as a diet, but coming from a healing protocol type place. And she's done everything she can think of, spent way more than she'd like to admit on naturopathic doctors and tests that weren't covered under insurance. She even left her stressful life and career and moved from LA to Texas. And she's still not in remission. She's continuing to gain weight and feel exhausted and have more and more fatigue. So several years ago, she thought she'd work on shifting her mindset from doing everything from a place of I have to do this because I'm sick to a mindset of wellness and joy around my food and lifestyle habits. And she did feel a bit better, but after years of this and still not achieving remission, she's starting to wonder, why not? And have a little bit of a case of, poor me, why does this keep happening? Why do I see others that can get into remission and can feel better, and it's not working for me? What am I doing wrong? Because I know a lot of you are here out of your own health and wellness journey and seeking to find a place of health and happiness and wellness that you maybe currently don't have, or maybe you never had, or you just want, which is totally understandable and cool. And because you're here, you know, at least in some part of you knows that your mind plays a role in the health of your body. So what goes on in your mind impacts your physical health. So you know that because you're here listening to the Unstuck podcast, which of course is excellent news. And today we get to go into the details of how that actually works, how your mind is greatly involved in the health of your body. So I think a lot of you can see yourself at least partly in that question. You may have a similar story, or you may at least have a similar question in that, like, I've done all the things, or I'm doing all the things, and I'm not getting the health benefits that I thought I would. I'm not seeing the changes that I thought I would. I'm even dabbling into this mindset work. I've done some spiritual work, some energy work, and things still aren't happening. So what am I doing wrong? What else do I need to do? And can this actually work? Will this actually work for me? And like I said, really the basis of her question is, can you use mindset to heal your body? That's the general question we're going to use. In her case, it's Hashimoto's, but also she seems to think, which was the case for me, that her Hashimoto's is actually being triggered by mold illness or some underlying factor that is causing her immune system to go awry. So it's she has the kind of this 2-factor thing going on, and she doesn't know for sure if it's mold illness or what it is. But if that's something that is in her circumstances, can she heal that without actually even knowing or going through the protocol XYZ? Okay, so let's get into this. Now, like I said, this is my wheelhouse. This is what I have been waiting for someone to ask me, because this, as I think a lot of you can see the correlations if you've listened to my past podcast or been following me for a while, or even just listened to episode 1 of this podcast. This is me. This is so much my story, so many similarities here. And where Lily is at now was my introduction into the world of using the power of the mind to make changes in your life, which is where I'm at now. But for me back then, it was just my health. I just wanted to be well. I wanted to heal my body. I wanted to get my life back. I wanted to feel as good as I possibly could again. I knew I could not go any longer feeling the way I was feeling then. I was so fed up, basically. And that's when I looked outside everything I had been doing, which at that point had been years of following healing protocols and changing my diet and taking more and more foods out of my diet, being very careful with my foods, working out as much as I possibly could, which went from like twice a day when I was feeling good, or when I just ignored the fact that I was feeling bad, to, just taking walks and doing some gentle yoga at other times in my illness or my healing journey, I guess I should say. So it was definitely the moment where I decided to look into something else. I knew there had to be something more. And in Lily's case, she said she's even done some of this mindset work in the past and is working on her spiritual health and that kind of thing, which is awesome. But we're going to go into it deeper because here's the deal. I'll give it to you straight away. If you are someone who is working on healing your body, which really, I think we kind of all are at this point, right? I don't think there's really that many people out there that are 100% or 110% healthy, no health issues to think of, or don't even care about their future health. That's very few of us. We all want to be as healthy as possible. And if you are in that camp, you, first of all, yes, have to work on the health of your mind to get the health of the body you desire, but you also can't do it intermittently. It is a full-on, lifelong practice that you are doing on the regular. Even those days that you feel like $1,000,000, hey, guess why you feel like $1,000,000? Because you're doing this work, and that needs to continue. It's not just when like, oh, I'm starting to feel bad, I need to pick this up again. It's all the time. It's all the time, every single day, and as many moments of each day as you can. Now, before we go any further, I'm going to give you some kind of tips. I have, I think, 7 tips for you on specifically using your mind to heal your body. But before we do that, I just want to let you know that in this episode, there is no part of me that is telling you to stop your medication, to stop your protocol, to stop your healing diet, nothing like that. This is all things to do in addition to the work you are already doing. And in fact, changing your perception of the work that you are already doing. So remember, this is a and also conversation, not a quit that, start this conversation. So let's get into a little deeper into this question. Lily has tried everything. And I also felt that I had tried everything. And I know a lot of you out there also feel like you have tried everything. You've done all the stuff, like all the, quote unquote stuff, all those things that people are feeding you out in the external world to get healthy. You changed your diet, you changed your lifestyle, your movement patterns. You started to get more sleep. You started to go outside more. You changed the way you worked out. You're working on changing the way you think right now through the Unstuck podcast. You're working to build spirituality also through the Unstuck podcast. But when you're doing all that, so think about all that stuff that you've done. You've tried everything. Think about that. And then think about it in relationship to the problem. So anytime you're doing anything to fix the problem, you're still efforting to fix the problem, which means you're still putting your attention, your focus, your energy, your emotion, your thoughts, all the stuff on fixing the problem, on that problem, which means you're still focusing on what you don't want. And this is really why I started the Unstuck podcast, if I'm being totally honest, because this was something that I saw in myself and had seen in myself since the day I was diagnosed with autoimmune disease, which was back in 2008. I focused on the problem. I focused on trying to fix the problem and doing everything I could to fix the problem. I was spending so much energy and time and focus and money and all of the things, all my sources of energy on that problem. And it's something I see and have seen now for years in my practice as a nutritionist. And what I really want to get people out of doing is, man, the amount of energy we are putting on what's going wrong in our physical bodies and expecting that to be what changes it. And then, of course, it doesn't work. So we spend more time, more energy, more attention, more focus on the problem. It's like this never-ending cycle. Like we put our energy into the problem, try to fix it. It doesn't work. So we do it more and more and more and more. And pretty soon it's consuming our whole lives and all of our thoughts and all of our emotions and all of our time and money and energy. Everything is still focused on the problem. But we now know, because of the Unstuck podcast and the work that we do here, and again, why I started this in the first place, we now know that this is flawed. This is a flawed system that we have going on. This is what's keeping us stuck. This is what's keeping us out of alignment. And this is what's keeping us in a low vibe place. And if you don't know that yet, you have 29 episodes to go back and listen to. And even if you already have, go back again. If you still haven't figured out that is flawed, that system of putting all your energy into what's not working is flawed, go back and listen to some of these past episodes, because we need to get you caught up to where we are now, which is knowing that. And so now that we know that, it's not, it's just a matter of mastering how to break that cycle, because that is what we are used to. That is now how we are programmed. So we just have to get out of the cycle. And that's what we're going to do today. That's what we're going to work on. Remember, where your focus goes, your energy flows. If you are focusing and efforting and trying to fix your health, you are remaining an energetic match for an unhealthy body. not for a healthy body, because you are putting your energy into what's not working, what's not going well, what you have to do differently, why your symptoms keep coming back. You keep looking into the space where things aren't going the way that you want, or what's currently not going well, or what symptoms you currently have and why that didn't work and why you're trying everything and it's not doing what you want to do. You're remaining in this pattern. Now, this is the, quote unquote woo-woo side of it, but there is also a scientific side of this, which y'all know I'm not super sciencey, but I do want to provide this for those that are still not buying it. Let's give you a little bit, just like a super small synopsis of why scientifically this is also the case, where what goes on in the brain affects your physical body. So every thought, feeling, and emotion creates a molecule which is known as a neuropeptide. These neuropeptides, you can kind of think of them as your communication signalers from brain to body. So those neuropeptides travel throughout your body. They hook onto these receptor sites that you have on your cells and your neurons. And it's the communication. It's how your body knows whether there is something that is putting you in danger, or there's trouble in your world, or there's a cause for celebration and joy. So it's everything in between. So remember, thoughts, feelings, emotions each create a neuropeptide. And then that is how your body knows what to do, what's going on, whether it needs to be in a fight or flight response, or in, the parasympathetic mode, and where it can just celebrate and be joyful and relax and be at peace. And then, of course, we know that then your body is influenced through those molecules. It creates an energetic effect based on whatever you're thinking or feeling in your brain. And then that energetic effect determines your physical response. That then determines how well or sick your body will be, what vibration it is going to carry based on energy. So this is, again, super small little chunk because I want to get into my little tips for today, but hopefully that gives you enough to think about. And we can kind of also think in this way, just picture what would happen, like neuropeptide chemical wise, if you had the thought, I don't know if I'll ever be well again. Seems kind of down in the dumps, a little negative, but that's often what we think, versus I know my body is getting well every moment of every day. Woo, that's exciting, because that means things are on the up and up. You're about to feel amazing. It could be tomorrow. It could be the next day. It could be in a year. It doesn't matter. You know, every day, every moment of every day, your body is getting well. Ooh, that is so different, right? So different. And we'll go into, because I think that's really what we have to start doing, is kind of shifting our perspective quite a bit here if you are someone who wants to heal your body. Last thing before my 7 tips. Remember, I want you to remember this is the only thing you take away from today. Let it be this. Your body wants and knows how to be well. Your body knows exactly what it needs to do to be well. And I think a lot of the time, us trying so hard and efforting to get well actually only gets in the way. It actually only makes it worse. And for me, that was definitely the case. The more I tried, the more symptoms I had. It was like one thing got better and then 2 things got worse. I was getting in my own way. And I think a lot of you are also getting in your own way because you've lost the touch with your body. You've lost the trust, I guess, in your body to know that it knows what it needs to do. It knows and wants to be well more than you do, way more than you do. So you've just got to get out of the way. How do we do that? Here we go. Step 1, lighten up. Yep, I'm going to be the first person to say this. You've got to lighten up on everything you're doing, on how desperately you want to be well. I know that sounds crazy. It's like, yeah, but I really want to get healthy. I want to do everything I can to support my body. And I know, I get it. But remembering that sometimes when you do that, when you can't lighten up, you are actually getting in your way. You're getting in your own way. And we talked about that last week when we talked about alignment. You are disconnected from that flow of energy and resources and the ability to self-heal when you effort, when you can't lighten up. So I think, if this is a really hard concept to grasp, just try it for like 1 week. Just for 1 week, like stop the Googling, stop the trying. And I'm not saying to stop your healing diet or whatever, but I will say that if you feel like it's impacting you negatively, like if it's causing you more stress, if it's causing you to freak out and to not be able to loosen up, then it may be something to consider, especially if you don't know that it's working. If you don't have any solid instances where you being on a healing protocol or taking the supplements have actually worked, then maybe just for a week you do see what happens if you loosen up. But regardless of what you do action-wise, you can stay doing the supplements and doing the healing protocol and the dietary protocol and all that stuff and be able to loosen up mentally and emotionally on how you're feeling about your health. Now, the best way to do that, and this is what I did when I decided that I needed to stop putting all my attention and focus and energy on trying to get well, this is step number 2, which is divert your attention to something else as often as you can. Now, I think if you've been kind of listening and following along with Unstuck, and there's so many times that I say to, think better thoughts, feel better emotions, be more positive. But sometimes that's really hard when you don't feel good. When you don't feel good, your body isn't how you know it should be. You have all these symptoms. You have all these things keeping you from living the life you want. It's really hard to be positive. But there is always something that you can do that puts you in a good place, that puts you in a good mood, that makes you really happy and joyful, that gives you pleasure, that makes you lose track of time. There's something that lights you up. And it is your goal right now to find that thing and do it as often as possible. This is diverting your attention. It's giving you something else to focus on, because we want to lighten up a little bit on all the energy we've put towards our physical health, which in turn is kind of creating more of the same. So now we want to back off and think about something else and put your attention and your energy and your focus and your money on something that really lights you up and brings you joy, which then gets you to not spend that energy and that time and focus and all that stuff on your physical health, your symptoms, what you're currently experiencing, all the supplements you're taking and the diet you're doing and all this stuff. You're diverting your attention. So for me, this meant, and I was very much into building my business at this time. So I loved spending time on my business, connecting with my community, creating content, writing blog posts. That made me so happy. And I also loved listening to YouTube videos and just things that really got me into a positive place. I loved taking walks. I had this place that wasn't that far from where I lived at the time that was this beautiful lake kind of in the middle of nowhere. And there was a lovely path around it, tons of trees that were really intricate trees, which I know sounds crazy. But at the time I was doing everything I could to divert my attention from what was currently going on that I wasn't loving. So I went to this place and I walked around that lake and I really studied the trees. And I really studied what happened when the sunlight would reflect on the water and all the sparkles that happened. And I just found, I just was in love with everything that was going on in nature at that point, I really found all the other things that I could focus on that brought me joy and happiness and made me feel like kind of good and tingly inside, besides what was going on at the current moment with my health that I wasn't all that happy about. And, if you're having a hard time thinking about what this could be for you, you may want to go back to your values. And we did a lesson on define your values. I believe it was episode 9 or 11. I'm sorry, I don't know off the top of my head, but I'll link it in the show notes. If you don't know your values yet, go back and do that lesson and then see if you can find something to put your energy and focus on that aligns with your values. And then that also then creates a sense of purpose, or what you could put your attention on that goes towards your purpose. If you know what your purpose is in this lifetime, do something that gets you closer to that, or in the environment of that purpose, or at minimum, get it to line up with your values, because then it will then get you closer to your purpose as well. Just a little side note based on that and what you can divert your attention to do. All right, the third one, continue your treatments. So like I said from the very beginning, I'm not telling you to stop doing anything, not the medications, the healing diets, the supplement protocol, the testing, whatever you're doing. I'm not saying that that's going to be up to you and your practitioner and whoever you're working with to decide. I'm not saying any of that for you, but continue with what you need to do treatment-wise, but with the knowing that they are working for you. It's not like, I hope this is working. I don't know. Like sometimes I feel okay, but then sometimes I don't. Like, what's going on? Should I stop this? Should I take another supplement? Do you see the pattern we're getting into here? All you have to do is know that it is going to work. And I mean, no doubt in your mind, whether it is actually making you feel better or not, which it will if you practice this, I promise. You have no doubt that every single day, every single moment, it is working for you. Whatever treatment you're doing is working for you with no doubt. And you can also visualize it. This is a really good time to start working on visualizing your body as healthy and whatever you're doing as being healthy. So if you're looking in the mirror and you're used to seeing sickness, which for me was definitely the case because my physical body had changed so much that I didn't recognize myself. And so every time I looked in the mirror, I just looked with like, who is this person? How did I get so sick? Is anything ever going to change? Is anything working? Is this just going to be my life forever? That's literally what went through my head every single time I looked in the mirror, even if it was just to like check out a pimple or see if my shirt was tucked in or something like that. But I want you to start changing that, turning that around. And yes, this is what I did too. So I know it works. See it as an opportunity to look at health. So instead of it reminding you of how sick you are, let it be an opportunity to remind yourself that you are getting healthy at that very moment. Maybe it's because of the meal you just had or the supplements you just took or the medication that's scheduled that day. Or it could just be that whatever you're doing, this mindset work you're doing, the spirituality that you're getting into, the affirmations, the meditation, all this stuff we're going to talk about. Maybe it's just all of that. But I want you to start seeing health. And really, this could be its own step in itself. But it really comes back to visualization. And you can do that by when you look in the mirror, you see a healthy body, or you at least affirm to yourself that you are getting healthy at that very moment. Your body is getting well. Maybe it's just something you remind yourself when you're on a walk or in the car, whatever. These are things that you really work on. And we'll talk a little bit more about visualization coming up. But I really want to go back to that knowing that your treatments are going to work, because that was so important for me to do, because I was on a mold illness protocol, and there were a lot of stories of people that it didn't work on. To be totally honest, I was in the Facebook groups at the time, and I immediately quit those because there was nothing but negativity in there. And I didn't want that to affect me at all and my healing. But anything that I was given by my doctor for my protocol, I just knew it was going to work. I had no doubt in my mind, and I was excited that it was working. I was excited to be on that protocol. Every single day I woke up and I was excited to take my medication to like choke down that gross powder stuff that I had to take and to shoot stuff up my nose that made it burn. I was excited because I knew it was working. I had no doubt. And guess what? It worked. And, there's a lot of different reasons I think involved in this, but I healed from mold illness, especially one to the degree that I had, way quicker than my doctor expected or had ever seen. And I think there are a lot of factors involved, but this was one of them. I had no doubt in my mind. I think another one is, and really it's everything that I'm talking about today, but number 4, which is to practice gratitude and joy. I hope that you are practicing gratitude and appreciation on a regular basis right now. But if you're not, or even if you are, make sure that it stays that way when things are not going well. Not just when they are going well and you're like, oh, I'm so grateful I got the money to buy this house. I'm so grateful that I found my perfect partner. That's when we have these experienced gratitude and appreciation, right? When we have good things that come into our lives. But you need it just as much, if not more so, when things aren't going well. And so really the challenge here is to practice gratitude. Find a reason to be grateful for your illness, for your symptoms. Yeah, that sounds like it might be almost impossible. You're like, no, nope, there's nothing good about this. Yes, there is. There is. You may not even be able to see it now, but I really want you to take the time now to find a reason to be grateful for what is currently going on with you physically. There is something that you can be grateful for. And again, something that I did, because for me, being in this place allowed me to share what was going on with my community and provide the education and the experience so others could help themselves. And, this experience that I had, which has now been 4 or 5 years ago when I first got diagnosed with mold illness, it's still helping other people. Here I am still talking about it. So there was something so magical in that experience for me. And I was able to see that right from the beginning and was able to really appreciate that right from the beginning. And I think that really helped. So definitely practice gratitude and joy. That joy is going to come from you diverting your attention and focusing on what makes you feel good right now, finding your purpose, working towards what lights you up, doing that as often as you can. And just overall joy, like whatever makes you happy. Like for me, it was noticing the trees, right? When I was really deep in the woods, pun intended. Here, I noticed how beautiful and cool the trees were. It's just simple things like that that really bring you joy. Do that now. Number 5, stay optimistic and positive, both with your treatment, but also with life in general. When I was going through my protocol and my healing journey, every time I went into my doctor, which was about once a month for a long time there, and every single time it cost me a ton of money that was out of pocket. There was always, lab tests involved and getting tons of vials of blood taken and, sometimes getting bad news. There was a lot of things that I could not enjoy about that process and just get really down about the process. I mean, the whole thing in general, I could have every reason to be kind of over, right? But every time I came in, the doctors, the nurse, the people at the front desk were always telling me how positive I was and what a good mood I had and what good reactions I had to what I had found out. I just had no doubt in my mind that me staying positive and optimistic about the process was going to heal my body quicker. And like I said, I was one of the I healed way quicker than expected and went through the protocol way quicker than expected. And I really, truly think it was because of my mindset and because of how optimistic I stayed, even in the darkest of days, how optimistic I still was about my treatment. So really try to find the positivity, find the good, stay optimistic and hopeful, and just know you're getting well. Just know you're getting well. So do that as it relates to your treatment and your wellness. But then also, of course, we talk about this all day, every day here on Unstuck, is to just be positive as you can. And some days it might just be going from anger to disappointment. It's not going to be full joy and peace every single day. You're just finding a way to feel a little better, to feel a little have a little bit more positive of an emotion. So make that a goal for yourself on the regular, just about general life, not just your health, but general life. Number 6, meditate. You must meditate every day, no exceptions. If you are not well, if you're not fully, totally well, you must meditate. If you would like the research behind, and I think I'll actually do a podcast episode about this because it really is fascinating. There is a ton of research out there now showing the health benefits, the physical health benefits of meditating regularly, like tons and tons of research. So we'll talk about that someday soon, but it's a must. It's just an absolute must. And you can do any sort of meditation that works for you, any practice. You can get into the apps, which I love doing, the Insight Timer. Then I have the option daily to pick what I want to do. If I want guided, if I want music, if I want silent, if I want to do a 10-day course on something specific. So I really highly recommend Insight Timer for that. Or you can, they have them on like Spotify and YouTube, all of that kind of stuff. If you want to do a guided meditation practice, or it's up to you, just whatever works for you. But you can also add in some visualization. I already mentioned visualization a little bit ago. We're going to talk about it again. What I loved doing when I was meditating regularly as I was getting well was to visualize myself well. Visualize myself with a healthy body, and more specifically, visualize this healing energy, which I saw as a bright white light coming in to my body and filling my entire body up with healing energy. Now, if you haven't meditated or you haven't visualized, you haven't done this kind of work before, that may sound kind of nuts, but it's not. It feels so good. You leave the meditation feeling that excitement and just that knowing that you are being healed right as we speak, which was really helpful for me. So again, that's just what I did. You can try that if it works for you. If not, leave it. Totally cool too. But definitely find some sort of form of meditation that you can do every single day that works for you. Last one, you've got to do this unstuck work. You've got to work on unsticking your beliefs, your emotions, your energy, all the things that we talk about here very, very regularly. Not only do you have to listen, but you also have to do the work. It needs to be a priority, well, really for everyone. It needs to be a priority forever, but especially if you are prone to illness, if you're prone to random health issues or concerns or symptoms, which some of us are, that's okay. But if you are one of those people, which I am definitely, this needs to be a priority forever. It is a lifelong thing. This is now a part of your everyday. Every day you are doing this kind of work, and I give you so many tools and tips to start adding into your life. It's up to you to do them. And of course, I'm here to help you. Tons of opportunities, and another way that I can help you with this coming up in a few weeks, which be around next week, to hear the announcement. But yes, really make sure, and especially with those thoughts and beliefs that may be stuck in your subconscious mind that are keeping you on this cycle of sickness instead of wellness, that really does happen. So yes, you can do all this stuff, but you also have to work on unsticking those because they may be there and may be keeping you from ever experiencing true wellness because you haven't done the work on your thoughts and beliefs and stories and those kinds of things. So that has to be a priority as well. And then just to wrap up, so those are kind of my tips, but I do want to just briefly talk about, will this, as it relates to Lily's question, will this heal something that maybe you don't even know you have or don't want to go through the standard treatment protocol? I will not tell you one way or the other whether that can happen. It's up to you if you want to do all of this work here and see what unfolds for you, see what symptoms get better, what improves. I think especially with autoimmune disease, and especially if you already know that you have it and are doing the things that seem to support the healing of it, if you can add in this stuff that we just talked about today, I really think remission is around the corner for you. If there is something though, like mold illness or something that is still underneath that, you may still have to go through that protocol, but this is what you do on top of. So remember, I'm not saying that you don't need to get tested, that you don't need to know your diagnosis, nothing like that. This is a situation where we're doing all of it to make sure that you truly do get well and to make sure that the things you are doing actually work. So it's up to you if you want to kind of see what happens when you incorporate this new stuff and you make it a regular practice, like a very important aspect of your life right now while you're trying to heal, and see if that's what you need to happen. Or if you want to, get confirmation of another diagnosis or not, and then use this as a way to heal quicker from whatever that might be. So I just wanted to approach that because that was her actual question. But it's up to you. Of course, I can't give you specific advice since I'm not your practitioner, but if you feel like you maybe have some things that you haven't totally committed to in this mindset work just yet, and you want to start there, that might be worth exploring if that's what feels good to you, but that's up to you to determine. Okay, that is it for this Q&A episode. Remember, if you have a question you would like me to answer here on the podcast, which really, as you can see, they're about everything. So nothing is off limits. It's really just if you, of course, want a more detailed answer to your question, but also think that you might not be the only one that has that question. Well, that would be great. So make sure to send that. As of right now, I am taking questions over on Instagram through direct message. Just let me know that you would like me to answer it as a listener question on the podcast, and I will make sure to get to it. I'm absolutely loving your questions and I'm loving answering them. I hope you are too. And I think that's it for now. So until next time, take care.